Hello there.
This is LEGO Set 71821, Cole's Titan Dragon Mech, perhaps one of the greatest LEGO mech sets ever released. An absolute behemoth that towers over most sets, such as this fire mech that I made an alternate build for last month. However, despite its size and weight, it's still very sturdy and poseable. But what if that was not enough? I love when sets have alternate builds, so I set out to give this set an alternate build of its own.
So, this is my first prototype design. As you can probably tell by the fact I've moved the camera closer, it's a lot smaller than the Cole's Dragon Titan mech, but it's also got a lot more going on rather than that, which was just a mech. As you can tell, the design is a bit rough looking, but it's only the first prototype. It's kind of like what the thing will look like, but in as little detail as possible. So we've got this snake here, which kind of wraps around the build. As you can see, it's a very unfinished design, but I think it will look quite cool in the end. We also have the mech in the centre, which is a smaller design, but we'll kind of use a lot more of the black, whereas the snake will use a lot of the white, which will cause a lot of contrast. And the last thing we have here is this system of plates, which will be the last thing I build, because this will be like a junky setting, which will use a lot of the leftover parts from those two builds, and it will be to represent the land of lost things. And that should kind of tie the whole build together with this snake and the mech. It's kind of inspired by the Ninjago Legends sets with their display pieces with the monster versus mech kind of thing, but this is a bit of a different scale to that. And yeah, I fixed the whole thing off camera, but yeah, that's what I'm going for, and I'll see you in a bit when I've put a bit more effort into it. So, it's actually the following day now. I was interrupted a bit during my building and never really got back to it, but this is what we've got so far for the mech. As you can see, it's coming along. The arms have had no changes done to them at all, and I'm still not happy with them. The legs have put quite a bit of work into now, and they look a bit more detailed. The torso opens like this. I'm not quite sure about the... it's still fragile, but I'm not sure about the shaping here. I think I might try to make it less flat, because the original mech the set's using is not a flat mech. It has a lot of shaping to it, and I want to include some of that here. We also have suggestion of a jetpack here. As you can see, a lot of detail in the legs now. I'll bring it up a bit closer at different angles and stuff. But yeah, there's stuff to change. I also think it needs a bit more orange and needs to look a bit more earthy. But yeah, that's the mech. I'll continue working. Well, the ankles need changing also, but I'll keep working on that, and I'll update you in a bit.
And indeed, I did keep working on the mech. I actually spent nearly another 2 hours on its design. This included changing the foot design to something more sturdy, using ratchet joints rather than mini ball joints, even though it limited the posability of the feet. This redesign also resulted in larger feet, which could better distribute the force of the mech's rapidly increasing weight. Following this, I then turned my attention to the cockpit to attempt to give it some more shape. This included a lot of trialing different ideas until I decided which I thought was best. I then built a head for the mech and fleshed out the arms. I had wanted to give the mech shoulder pads, but I couldn't figure out something that would have complemented the design, so I left it without. A thought was that if the snake curled upwards in the way that I had posed it, then that'd add a strong visual element to that part of the final build, which would distract from the lack of shoulder pads. But that was about it for the mech design. It used a little less than half of the set's parts, but still looks like a decent and complete build by itself.
Here is a quick size comparison between our new mech and the mech we compared the original with. As you can see, it's still bigger than Kai's elemental fire mech, but not by the same degree as the original mech, which gives us the parts we need for the snake and the diorama build, hopefully.
But now that the mech was complete, it was time to focus on the snake. So, this is my snake build. It's about the same length as the original prototype version, but is built to be both sturdier and have a much thicker and more interesting design. That does make it considerably heavier and harder to pose though. I am happy with the head design though. It could be a bit more snake-like, with a different selection of parts to work with. However, the snake can be put into some cool poses still, and when paired up with the mech made me excited for the final build. All that remained was to make a stand which allowed for a dynamic pose while still having a messy junkyard look. So here we have it, my finished alternate build. It uses about 900 parts, but is much smaller in volume than the original set. It has a cool earth mech that is fighting a snake in the land of lost things. I would have preferred if I could have had the snake positioned in its intended up-high position, but I was having trouble with building a good-looking stand that could hold its weight, so a compromise had to be made, where this stand tries to strike the balance of structural stability but also looks, with only the leftover parts after I'd finished the main two builds. It can be a little frustrating to pose the snake and mech on the stand, but once they're on there, I think it really pulls the build together into something awesome. If you want to build this mock for yourself, premium instructions are available from my replicable page. But with that being said, thanks for watching. Goodbye!